You were one of my first guests, actually, very early guests when I was starting doing this podcast. Yeah, and it was so. I was saying I may as well just be transparent. So I said, "How long ago was it when I did the last?" And they said, "Oh, probably 7 years when I last talked to you." Because
I've been doing this for 50 years. You know, under 50 years I've been doing this show.
I do know that. We were at the offices of First Run Features. Is that possible?
Well be.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Holy cow.
Why is it that you haven't aged and I have?
I don't know.
Okay. Fair answer.
We could have a few guesses, but we we don't know for sure.
Anyway, it was a delight. It was a pleasure, and it is again.
Oh, we hope.
True.
Because occasionally I forget one of their names.
But I will not let anybody know that when I edit this. I can edit this afterwards, so you won't forget.
No.
Nobody will know.
Oh, okay.
Nobody will be the wiser. Last time you brought Tony with you.
Well, you were lucky you didn't get him today. Because he was supposed to come today, but this is a sad-ish story. His brother is in America and has got very ill.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, that does lead to something I do want to bring up at some point, which is, as they're now 63, as we know, this is a film that spends a lot of its time looking back.
Yeah.
Would you say, I suppose, now as they were kind of at this point in their lives, not elderly, but old enough? Many of them have become
definitely old enough, my friend. Are they younger than you? Older than you?
Yes, by 7 years also.
Really?
So I would be in the next group, right behind them.
Yeah, they're outside waiting. So sorry.
But many of them are retiring. They're having grandchildren.
Yes.
They're losing friends. That's
life is moving on, and that's sort of the challenge of this. As I accumulate so much stuff, and one way I've just sort of decided quite early on only to do it every 7 years, however successful it was, because otherwise you'd accumulate so much stuff, it will become totally confusing. You know, it's confusing sometimes to show them between 56 and 63 and whatever. But if I had done it more often, I think we'd all be dead by now.
Explain.
Well, no, I'm saying 7 years sounds a long time between them. But when you get to this stage of it, there's so much stuff.
Oh, I see.
That it's hard to fit any of it in. So I'm glad I only did it every 7 years. At least what I try to suggest is not be too nostalgic about, but just see how much they have developed over the 7 years. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Otherwise, no one will understand a thing that I'm talking about.
I might have asked this last time, but it was 7 years ago. Nobody remembers. How shortly after you're done with one installment do you pick up, or are things kind of happening?
No, I don't. I have.
Because that's kind of what you're talking about too.
Someone who works with me, who lives in England, still, who checks in on them once a year.
Okay.
Just to see what goes on, and also if things, if they're in any sort of trouble, would call her. But I don't talk to them between the 7 years because it's confusing. Because something brilliant might have had in the 3rd year, so I do that, say, and then something in the 6th year, and I do that, and then in the 7th year, I've got 3 hours of material for one person.
Right.
So I have to limit myself. And at least there's a chance that sort of interesting or maybe alarming or maybe amusing things have happened within 7 years other than on a less broad year.
Yes.
Now, is that almost inexplicable answer to your question? Does that help a bit?
It does. No, I understand. So, in other words, if, let's say, there's some life event occurs in their lives, let's say a new baby, a grandchild is being born, you can at least send that your crew or whomever to go get some B-roll. I don't know if you consider anything B-roll.
That's what I don't do, because then it's...
Okay. Just to have it? No?
Well, no, I would have it, but I wouldn't... No, I would have it to have it in the 7th year.
Okay.
So here's your 7-year-old child.
Understood. Okay.
Otherwise, if you suddenly get
Right.
a newborn baby, people think, where the fuck are we?
Yeah. Oh, I see. That makes
You
a
know,
lot of sense. Yeah. And it's a decision, and you create guidelines. I mean,
Exactly,
in order to
yeah.
function, right?
Yeah, so everybody has the same year. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes, yeah.
I'm not doing 3 people in year something and boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
There has to be a uniformity here, even if I have to miss great events.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And the telling it makes sense.
And I'll get
But
some.
I could help you a bit by putting the microphone a bit nearer me.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Well, you do sound
Probably
better.
fall down on top of me.
No. And it's very lightweight, I promise.
Okay.
You've already had one injury, so.
I know. That was done by my dog.
Oh, it's not a bite, is it?
No, I was walking because he's beautiful, little, and kind of old. He's not too old or anything, but he cut in front of me when we were kind of jogging along, and I went
Oh, I see.
over a gravel road.
Uh-huh.
And then I got a bit up, went down again.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
So I've lost 3 fingers and whatever.
And when he says that, he means temporarily.
Yes.
So
you're glad you know. You have to do a visual,
Yes.
radio cutaway of it.
that's right.
Yeah.
Quick, some photos. Some photos. I was going to ask you about your relationships with these guys, because there's the relationship you have on the film, and then there's the relationship you have with them in whole, outside of that context. And I know that you're saying you're only checking. You do not spend time with them. You do not see them in between installments. I get that. But they do come in and out of the films, and you must have when somebody drops out of the film, or rather of the series, you must have a disappointment, or
Well, yes, and if we get fair warning of it that they don't want to do it anymore, then I'd move straight into action, not shoot them, but try and convince them to stay in it.
oh, right,
I'd only do it every 7th year, otherwise it gets a terrible mess.
yeah. Have you had success in an instance where they are ambivalent or decided that this is just not working?
In a way, but in a different sort of way, that one of them said, what I don't do is give up on them. If they say, no, I'm not going to do it again, bugger off, like that, say at 35, I'll go back to them at 42, and they may have changed their minds.
Right.
Or they may have matured and grown up and become more appreciative of moi. But no, I never give up. The first one dropped out after 21. That was the one who went into the BBC.
And here we are.
And I never recovered him. The one person
Thank you.
who I thought would be extremely interesting in it is someone who was in the business. And he joined the BBC. Oh, thank you. This is in case a name slips my tongue. Not that I don't know who they are, because we only just finished shooting with it about 3 months ago, so they're fresh in the mind.
How recently? Did you finish before?
I think. Where are we? Are we in October now? No, I finished shooting at the end of February.
A technical question: are you assembling as you go, or are you? Are you working closely with an editor?
No, I've tried to put it together as we go.
Yeah.
And hand it over to Ken Horton, who's been cutting it solo since, I think, 28 up. And then he does it on his own. Before he did it with another guy.
Uh-huh.
And so he starts work very early on,
Right.
in case we're in trouble and need to do other things again, whatever. But I don't have to go and patch it up too often, but it gives me the chance to be up to date and also have a chance to cut any changes that seem horrific or unintelligible.
Well, the other challenge of as each installment goes on, you also include moments from prior installments.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So,
well, that's the whole joy of it in a sense. I mean,
well, that's the
energy of it is
advantage
the
of it.
time present, but
Yeah.
the joy of it is seeing these people say, well, when I was so and so and so, and boom, there they are.
Right.
That's what I've got that no one's ever had in the history of broadcasting worldwide.
Congratulations, by the way,
I think
for that.
You should have come on your hands and knees. Well, no one's ever done this before, and now, of course, it's too late for anybody to do it because I'm so far ahead of the game.
That's right. This is your
a lot of people tried
legacy.
It. Well, I hope not entirely my legacy.
No,
it's a big
James
chunk
Bond.
Of my,
there's a few
all
other
that
things.
sort of stuff. That sort of stuff, yes. I was going to say something else incredibly interesting, but I've forgotten now.
Well, there's just more to come, I'm sure.
Okay,
so it's not like you're going to run out. I'm frustrated because I went to my father's apartment last weekend, and I searched through dozens of boxes that I have, searching for my first run features box set of all of the. I was going to bring it and ask you to sign it, and I thought this is great. As a fan of the series, because I saw the first one I saw was 21 Up, which 28 or 21, which was the first one distributed in the U.S. again? Was it 28?
28 was 28. The first one that was, and then it came out when the box set came out. The earlier ones came out, but yes, I think 28 was the first one that got international coverage.
Yes, right, and since we've been showing them theatrically here.
Yeah.
As each installment came out. So I couldn't find it, but I know I have it. I just couldn't find it.
What are you looking for, my friend?
Well, I was explaining that I was looking for the box set, but I was aggravated about that. But then I remembered, I'm gonna meet you in person, and that'll be more than sufficient to have that experience again with you. Right. And here, more than ever, because of this, where these guys are at, again, they're obviously 63, and it seemed as though, and maybe you've brought this up in past installments, I didn't get a chance also to watch some of the other ones, which I also would have if I could have found the box, but that you kept bringing up, show me the child at 7, and I'll show you the man. And you kept confronting folks with that throughout the new installment. Was that something that you were kind of doing more in this installment, specifically because they're now getting to that other end of that spectrum?
I mean, since, as I said rather vainly, that no one else has ever done this, I think I should be flashing my goods down their throats. Mm-hmm. To see someone actually in front of you growing up from 7 to 63 is unique in the history of the world.
Yes.
So why not show it off? I mean, they're not...
But the underlying message there is that people, their essence, essentially stay.
Yeah, and then that's for each viewer to judge. I mean, something. God, I can't think what he was like when he was 7. Oh my God, there he is at 7.
You don't have to worry. Yeah,
I've got it in hand. That sort of thing. And if I make a point of it, I can illustrate it, say that you were a kind of over-educated little prick at the age of 7, and there they are at 7. Mm-hmm. It's not my being malicious with them. There it is. But just to have it walking and talking in front of you their whole lives is unusual.
It is, It's true.
I think it's the earphones, but you have a Robert De Niro look about you.
No, it's not that. I've been told. Now it's on the recording. Yeah. No, that's come up before. 63 Up, by the way, we should mention you're here because it's at the New York Film Festival.
Yes, yes. That's not with excitement. Yes, I knew that.
Well done. I brought that up because I was wondering, you have a minute to see any of these other movies that are going to be at the festival? Do you have any time? No, your publicist is saying no, you don't. So don't even consider going and seeing The Irishman or...
Don't go and see it?
No, I'm saying not at the New York Film Festival. You do not have time.
No, that's true. I don't have time.
But you can see him. They de-age. See, now this is something you could do, and maybe in the next installment, is use some of Scorsese's technology to de-age your subjects.
I know. I know him a bit because we were at Granada for a bit, and I said, is it ready? And he said, no. And I said, well, when is it due? And he said, in about 6 weeks. I said, what? He said, well, what I'm doing is actually changing their faces so they look, whatever his time scales are. And I thought, holy Christ. I mean, I've done those films, and it just takes forever to do it. and he was still slugging away on it and showing number person however many people he's got in it.
Yes.
Of them, however many years he's going back with them. I mean, at least mine's, not at least, but I mean, mine is rigid. It's 7, 14, 20.
Right.
But I thought, that's an incredible undertaking.
It is. And he does it magnificently well, but he's, been doing this now for so many years.
But not to this degree, and not, within in a movie quite so much. Is he changing people's faces?
Right.
In subtle ways, not.
It's
anyway.
true, but they also, it's interesting, and I'm getting a little far afield here, I know, but just so you can think about this as well, when, put this in the context,
right.
that they also their body language has to reflect their age at that time as an actor. So, like, they would say to Al Pacino, who's getting on, but, when he gets up from a couch, he goes, you're 39, you're 39 there. So he has to go, he had to go back and do a 39-year-old getting out of the couch.
He is creating a hell. Isn't
yes,
it?
yes,
hell for
that's right. A
the whole
physicality,
industry. Actors, everybody.
That's right. If this catches and everybody starts getting de-aged, they have you have to be careful. If you're casting an 80-year-old, they're going to have to run down the block at like a 20-year-old. They better keep in shape. But
do they carry it all the way through to movement?
Yes.
Oh my God!
It is. It's an amazing accomplishment,
Really?
and it actually ended up, more importantly, having incredible performances in it. I was surprised. I have
Really?
to say, pleasantly so. But I want to get back to 63 Up before I get in trouble with your posse.
Otherwise, we'll ask for the money back for the water.
Yeah. What is the plan? It's premiering in New York, obviously. Has it had a festival premiere in the States prior to this? Telluride. That was the world premiere as well. Premiere, excuse me. And now it's at the New York Film Festival. And then what's next? Just so I know. Right, the film forum where they. What's that?
In between, we go to Mill Valley Film Festival.
Oh.
We're going to give him an honor there. We'll be at Heartland. They're going to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award at Heartland Film Festival as well.
That's a double-edged sword, always, right?
It's flattering.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
I started making this when I was, 22.
Yeah. You came on with the second 14?
What?
When they were 14, you came on?
No, when they were 7.
You were involved in the first one.
Yes,
So
I was the low producer.
my bad. Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yes,
right.
I think you should go back, do some homework, and come back again at 5 o'clock.
No, there's no point because no one's going to hear my error. And
Oh, I see.
so I'll let it right out.
No. I mean, had just joined Granada with 5 other young men, no women, I'm afraid, in 1963. And I was the only one who showed any interest in documentaries. Everybody else wanted to be a movie director and all that, which secretly I did. But anyway, so...
Where did the documentary bug come from? Because there was not... Well, I guess it was going on television, on British television.
What?
It was a big thing.
What was?
The documentary format.
Yeah, but no one's done this before or since.
No, I get that.
You do get that.
You're right to be sarcastic
Yeah.
with me. I'm not doing a great job of explaining what I was trying to say was that when you were 22 and you decided to go into documentary,
Yeah.
there wasn't it wasn't a thing, right? It wasn't a career choice.
There were beginnings of World in Action.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing like it, and the idea of staying with these people more than the 20 minutes I filmed them in 64 or something, and that never occurred to us. That was amazing when you consider how successful 7-Up was. It changed the world, the British world anyway. It kind of stamped the fact that we better do something with our society before we just rotted to death behind the working class. I mean, behind the upper class. But anyway, we did it, and it was a huge hit. 5 years later, the man who was running Granada at that time found me in the commissary and came up to me and said, "Have you thought of going back to visit these people?" And I said, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. But do you think it was just an inspired moment for him as well? Like he just thought of it, or do you think he'd been?
I think they'd probably been because Granada in those days was brilliant. It changed the whole face of television. It made the BBC look like old farts and things like that. But that generation, I came in, me and my 5 friends came in as trainees straight from university and stuff like that. It was classic. I mean, Granada went out and got every good person in the business to join the company, and they changed the face of television. You know, it was astonishing, and this was just one of the things they did. There was a man called Tim Hewitt, who, do you know that name? He was Australian, and
I remember we talked about this.
He was at the age of 24 the editor of the Daily Express Northern Tradition, and then Sidney Bernstein brought him over, moved him from one side of Manchester to the other side of Manchester, and he transformed documentary television, current affairs television.
Sure.
The current affairs was like watching the Times newspaper in 1963. You know, it had no pizzazz about it, no nothing. Hewitt started doing things about real problems, from abortion all the way through, and druggery, and boom, boom, boom. And everybody was shaken but in their shoes. So this little number coming along was just one of many kind of... Television started growing up when this very noisy Australian came into Manchester.
And thank goodness he did. For all the different broadcasting he did or was partly responsible for, as well as the Up series. Yeah. And I know we were kind of joking on a certain level. You're going to disagree that it was joking, but as advocating for what a pioneering project, what a pioneer you are with this project.
Well, I kept the people it going. I mean, that
yes,
was
you did.
The only thing.
But for folks like myself who really connect to documentary format or documentary films, and who discovered the series, the Up series, at exactly the same age you are when you got on board at Granada with this series, at 21, because I was exactly 7 years younger than your cast, if I can call them that. It was a profound experience, and each time I watch it, I start to get emotional.
Because it's so obvious, isn't it?
I get a lump in my throat the moment it starts, and I hear the voice.
And hear the music.
And I start seeing the images again, and it's been 7 years since I've been reunited with these friends. They're friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's another byproduct of what you've accomplished.
Very moving what you just said. No, it's true, but it is true. They became people's friends.
Yeah.
People cared about them.
And I wonder what will happen. How will life go on one day without them?
Life will end for us all eventually.
Speak for yourself. I myself have other plans.
But I don't know what. Anyway, have you seen 63 Up?
I have.
Yeah. So you see that one has already gone.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say it on the show because
I'm glad you didn't.
But I'll yeah, but that's part of the nature of
that's
this.
That's what everybody asks me. How many are dead? And I said, well, watch the film. Yeah.
Well, they're not exactly ancient at this stage, and I can definitely, I would hope that this is not the last. I assume there'll be a 70 Up because it needs to happen.
Yeah, wouldn't it? I mean, whether I'll be above ground is another matter.
You will. Just take care of that dog problem. Take care of the issue with the dog. The dog needs to. If the dog is gone, I hope he's not. If the dog, you stand a better chance. Of standing. Yeah. But 70 Up would be a great place.
It would be a proper place to end it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because that is an accepted business of getting old, is being 70.
Well, also, I don't know. Personally, I would start to feel would sink into a level of morbidity.
Well,
is that the word? If you go much further, because then you're just seeing people dying, and that's not what this is about. Yeah. You've kind of accomplished what it's about. Yeah. Now it's about getting the whole picture of a lifetime. Yeah. And
that's why it was important that I live long enough to do 63 Up, because it would feel. No consummation if they die. If we finished at 56,
because they're still middle-aged.
Yeah, exactly. But I think 63, if God in his will takes me off the land, said we've had enough of you. 63 isn't a terrible age to end it, for people to peg out. Because I was only 21 or 22 when I started it. When I joined it.
Yes, and...
Why do you keep turning that over? It's fun.
I don't know. It's my own...
Yes.
Well, let's meet in 7 years, and I'll tell you why I have these predilections that I have. I had to fit in that message to you, personal message about it, because, coming up and discovering film as a young man in New York, and thank goodness I was in New York so I could discover so much more.
Yeah, it's a great age of American cinema.
Yeah.
The 60s and 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Breathtaking.
Indeed. But even into the 80s, the distribution of so many art house films coming here from Europe and from the UK, that's how I discovered, I don't know how I came across 28 Up. I was in a theater, and I'm just saying, I don't know how I ended up in that theater.
It never went into theaters until like 28.
Yeah, right.
It was just on television. But I mean, World in Action went out every, Monday night, so it had a big slot. And then in the middle of that came this thing as a World in Action special. And you probably watched World in Action because it was groundbreaking.
Oh, can you see any of those shows anymore?
Yeah, I'm sure.
YouTube, maybe.
No, what was shocking to me is that I wanted to be incredibly thorough when I did 63. And so I said, could you get me the original films for 7, 14, 21, and they'd wiped the whole lot. Not the finished product, but all the original material.
Right.
I said, what? Because I'd always gone into the archives and never had any problem, but I just said, didn't we do something when they were 14 about so-and-so? And they said, no, that was wiped out.
Tragic.
Well, it was a miracle. They kept the originals, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But
so the original,
excuse my French, but
when you see the original, I mean, you have the original prints.
Yeah,
is what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it was shot on film and processed on film and broadcast on film, I suppose. So they didn't start broadcasting on video for some time. I don't think. I don't know. I can't remember. I was on Coronation Street too. How about that, Mr. History here? What? What's so amusing? Yeah. I forgot one. No, I think I did episode like 150 or something like that. They started in 1960. They had 6 years. And I think there was a time when they broadcast every day or something. Anyway, we divert something.
Yeah. It's early in the morning when we're meeting, by the way. So, remind me though, the Film Forum theatrical. It's November 27th. Okay, Thanksgiving weekend here in the States. November 27th in New York, and so March 5th or whatever day that is. I'll figure it all out. It'll come to a city hopefully near you, and you'll have a chance to. And you have the nice thing is that's enough time for people who are listening to catch up and see all of the other Up series, which there's about 7 or 8 or
9. This is
9. That's right. It makes sense. Next one, they're all. Oh, let's talk about BritBox then. So BritBox is
has all of them from 7 through.
This one, but they also have the entire catalog on the streaming service.
Oh, it's a streaming service. That's what. Oh, of course it is. I think I got invited to join that. For fans of British films or content, BritBox.uk.com. You can check it out. We'll put the links in the notes, and I'll get my act together about it.
When with the British or the Americans always ship them their stuff, but it would be their popular stuff. Their whatever's.
Gotcha. Right, the best of what we do, and whatever. We're most successful. Yeah. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you for.
Did I do all right for you? Or was it?
Did I do all right for you? Is a better question.
Yes. We did cover 1 or 2 grounds that I haven't covered yet with people.
Oh, good. Well, that's always nice. I mean, I didn't go into many details of all the subjects, but of your
no, it's better to be
folks
sort of general about it,
but they're all there: Tony, Andrew, Sue, Nick, Bruce, and Jackie, and Peter, Lynn, Paul. There's too many still. Everybody's still. And John, of course, Neil. It's great to see everybody. And you can be the judge of whether yourself, as a viewer of these films of 63 up in particular, show you the child at 7. Yeah. We'll show you the man. Does it ring true? And
I think it does. I mean, it doesn't necessarily hit each person. Boom, to 21. It's not
so on the nose.
They were young adults, but I think the whole thing works. So this is them at 21, or this is them at 24, or this is one at 14. Holy shit! At 14, they were like that. I think it does work out because it's simply done. You know, sometimes when people mix up ages and things like that, and mix up things, it gets impossible to follow it. Who's got what? So, you know, I tend not to break it up too much. If we're doing some things about an issue that was at 21 up or something, then I'd put the 21s together. So, I mean, it's a tricky thing, but it's not really as tricky as it sounds or should be. Perhaps I should do it better. But anyway,
it's pretty good.
I was begging for some support there, but as you kept nodding when I said yes, it would be difficult. Yes, I suppose it would be difficult.
It sounds like a process of the organization to a great degree, and you figured a lot of that out over the course of.
The fact that no one else had ever done it, and by the time I'd done 3, they were hopelessly lost. Mm-hmm. You know, if you think they would now be up, so I mean, because they're doing their own, Granada are doing their own ones, and the BBC are doing their own ones, but they don't have the kind of the magic of this, of looking at the 1950s and 1960s on a real thing. There it is. That's what it was like, uncut and unmessed with. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm losing my coherence.
No, you're not. You've been great, actually, and it's wonderful. It's a privilege to be able to meet up with you again and do this.
Well,
I really
hope to see you in another 7 years.
Me too.
Yes.
I'll count on it.